I don't know. Some of y'all don't want to admit it, but I'll say it. It's starting to look a little bit shaky. I want to see Terence Crawford versus Jaron Boots Ennis. They're on the same platform. They're pretty much dealing with the same people. Oh, yeah. And Hall of Famer Bernard Hopkins, he want to see it too. I made this graphic for you guys. B-Hop says he wants to see Boots Ennis, Jaron Boots Ennis versus Terence Crawford in Philly. And he proposes that they fight. I personally think this is a great fight between two talented black American fighters that once were in the same division. Now, it would probably require Jaron to move up, which I'm fine with that. Jaron Ennis, if you listen, he has interviews where he said he wants the Crawford fight, and he would even go to 154 for it. So make it happen. Now, I got a lot of questions. There's a lot of people, and you can trust me, the man that's been in the boxing game for a decade plus, or you can listen to them other guys. But I'm here to tell you it's looking a little bit shaky, and I will explain in this video. Terence Crawford's a terrific fighter. He's so good. He needs rivals that people want to see him face. Other than that, it's going to be like the Madrimov fight where, okay, Madrimov is a skilled fighter. He's a good fighter, but he doesn't have a name. People didn't know him. If anything, based on how he acquitted himself, his stock rose coming off a loss to Terence Crawford because people finally were able to see that he can fight at a high level, right? But going into the fight, that's why it was pretty silent. And I think Turkey and the organizers and Eddie Hearn and everybody and Terence Crawford, they thought this was going to be a big, we'll just put him in L.A. and load up the card, and that'll be that. And it flopped. It went double wood. And this is what Bob Arum warned about regarding Terence Crawford. He said the same thing I'm saying. Terrific fighter, hell of a fighter, but not going to be so much on the promotional side and not necessarily going to make money on the event. That's what all the reports are saying. So for me, I think Terence Crawford, to do that, he needs compelling names that the fans want to see. Other than that, it's going to be hard. Now, I've already talked about this in several videos, and it's shocking that I'm the only person, per usual, with a pair that's going to state the obvious. There's so many people who are worshiping Turkey and saying, oh, he brought all the great fights to boxing and stuff. I don't have a problem with the guy, but what fight did he bring to boxing that you have been wanting to see? That has already happened. So don't tell me better Biev and Bivol, because that fight has been postponed and Better Biev has been injured and stuff like that. So we haven't even made it to that fight. So what? Fury Usyk maybe? Did you, out of all the fights that Deontay Wilder could have fought, he fought on Riyadh season cards against Joseph Parker and Zhele Zhang. That ain't a fight that the fans were asking for. People have been asking for Anthony Joshua and Deontay Wilder. But instead, Turkey put them on the same card, gave Joshua an easier opponent in terms of Otto Vailin, and gave Wilder Joseph Parker, and then he loses. And then Wilder comes back and has to fight a 300-pound Chinese dude who can fight and is a southpaw, Zhele Zhang, and then he gets knocked out. So now Wilder, that was kind of a crossroad fight. He already entertained the idea of retiring in the promotion. He said he could possibly retire if he loses, and we haven't really heard much from Wilder since. So again, I'm asking, what legendary fight did Turkey make? And then on top of that, the question I keep asking is that Canelo Alvarez is the name that Crawford has continually mentioned. Now that doesn't look realistic because Turkey is now involved in the ongoing beef with Canelo, and he's trading words and barbs and stuff and jabs at him in the public. So you already know how Canelo gets down. He's not going to be dictated to, which is what I told you. And at the end of the day, if you're talking trash to Canelo, he's not going to do you no favors. He just did an interview with Gillian Wallow, and he said he loves working with PBC and Al Heyman. That coupled with the fact that he's very loyal, he stayed loyal to Golden Boy to a fault. And, you know, he's also actively beefing with Turkey and mocking him with the hand holding and stuff like that, posted on my social media. So Terence Crawford is running out of big name fights. The Madrimov, you could say it's a skill fight, but it wasn't a big fight. It did not live up to the expectations financially or the actual fight. Virgil Ortiz versus Boachuk cost less than that Crawford Madrimov event, but it was far better entertainment. And it just goes to show you, undercards are great, but give me one Sergey Boachuk versus Virgil Ortiz as a fight to watch, as opposed to the whole Crawford Madrimov card, right? Because even the Jared Anderson fight, that was my favorite fight on the card, Jared Anderson and Bacoli, and they were trading, but I had Bacoli pretty much winning every round, especially since he was knocking down Jared Anderson. You know, it was just Anderson was showing heart. Versus Boachuk and Virgil Ortiz, again, this wasn't part of this massive card, and Golden Boy put out a fight of the year contender easily, and it cost less money than the whole Crawford Madrimov. They didn't advertise it with fireworks and walking billboards and all this stuff. So that's what I'm saying. You got people who are trying to force feed a product to you and turn Crawford to a star, but great fights are great fights. Great matches are great matchups. And for me, I think Crawford needs a big fight and a name that's even halfway compelling. I don't know why the Bud Buddies don't want to see this fight. The Bud Buddies are saying that Terence Crawford annihilates Jaron Boots Ennis. Okay, cool. Make the fight, annihilate him, and grab your bag and be on your way. You know, it's not about just the winning and losing. And it's funny because people are like, oh, he doesn't need to fight Boots. Who has Boots fought? Who did Madrimov fight? Oh, but Madrimov is a champion. Okay, Boots is a champion, right? Madrimov had 11 fights, 10 wins. Who did he fight leading into the Crawford fight? Yet they made a whole event around that. Now, the other thing that's looking very shaky, and again, since I got to be the bearer of bad news, so be it. Turkey also put out a comment, and he said this. He says, I just reached out to boxer Jaron Boots Ennis and Eddie Hearn to congratulate him on his win. And I'd love to see Jaron Boots Ennis in a fight with Crawford at the weight of 154 pounds soon. Then when Sergey Boachuk was fighting challenger at the time, Virgil Ortiz, before the fight, he didn't even say that. Turkey said, I want to make Virgil Ortiz if he wins the fight, which he did, but there's controversy. So to me, you can advance Virgil Ortiz into the Crawford fight, but it's not that sellable given he got dropped twice with Boachuk, who isn't as proven as Crawford is. And a lot of people thought he lost the fight. So I'm not impressed. People are saying, oh, Turkey, he's good for boxing and he made the best fights. But my question is, the message is very unclear. When Jaron Ennis fought, he used Crawford's name, and he said that depending on Crawford's fight with Madrimov, and obviously Jaron Ennis clearing his opponent, David, which we knew he was David Avocado, him clearing that he wanted to match him. And then now he's talking about Virgil Ortiz. But again, I just gave you the problem. The thing with the Virgil Ortiz is, who wants to see that, especially more than a fight with Boots Ennis? So I need to see the fights that I want to see, that I'm willing to pay for, because I speak for the people, and I know for a fact that I'm not the only one that wants to see these particular fights. Virgil Ortiz is really a forced fight, to make Virgil Ortiz and Crawford, given what I just told you regarding how Virgil looked and getting dropped and stuff. Who wants to see that? And again, the message is unclear. When Turkey is saying, like, he's double talking. He said he wanted to make Jaron Ennis, and then they're asking Jaron Ennis about Crawford, and he said, yeah, make the fight.
Fights out there for you. There's also Terence Crawford, who Eddie Hearn says he wants to make that fight if Crawford wins on August 3rd. What's your preference?
Most definitely, let's make it happen, That's what I want. I want the big names. Terence Crawford, anybody else in that weight that got a big name, let's get it. Let's make it happen.
So, boom, post-fight, after Jaron Ennis' last fight, the Zone reporter was asking him, said, your promoter, Eddie Hearn, wants to make a fight with you and Crawford. Eddie Hearn has been very vocal about it. Eddie Hearn works with Turkey. Jaron Ennis works with Eddie Hearn. Crawford works with Turkey, who just collaborated with Eddie Hearn for the Madrimov card. What's the holdup? I don't understand why Crawford Boots is. It's like I'm speaking a foreign language that nobody understands. How is this not the move? How is this not the move? You can fight Madrimov with 11 fights. You can say after Boots' fight that Turkey said he wanted to make the Crawford fight, but then switch it when Virgil Ortiz was about to fight and say you want to make the Virgil Ortiz fight. So it's like, which one is it? What is going on with Boots? Why is it like, does a fighter not want it? Like, I'm really starting to have a lot of questions, and I think these questions need to be answered. So, and the other thing is, Crawford, is he going to just sit the rest of the year out? He's been fighting one time a year for the last several years. It's like, what gives? Like, aren't you trying to build? Like, you're never going to make a star like this. It's so late in the game. Crawford needs activity. I think one big fumble was to not keep him a bit more busy after his biggest win with Errol Spence. You can't just, that's like an actor winning an Oscar and then he don't do no movies for 2 years. All that momentum, you could run the ticket price up, right? Like when Jamie Foxx won an Oscar for Ray and then he did Miami Vice, he got paid more than Colin Farrell. Look it up. You know what I mean? Because he had just won for Ray and he got an Oscar, so he capitalized on that, and he had different demands, and the demands got met because he's an Oscar winner now. That drove the price up. So Boots keeps winning, keeps getting stoppages. Crawford didn't quite get a stoppage, but he showed he has skill even at 54. He's not so far gone from the welterweight division because he only has one fight at 154. Boots is a huge 147. There's no real big fights that seem easy to make. People keep saying, like, oh, Jaron Ennis and Mario Barrios. But I think PBC has their own plans for Barrios. Why would they got Stanionis and they got Barrios? Why would they give it to Jaron Ennis, who was on Showtime, but he's working with Eddie Hearn now? It's just not logical. Right? Then you have Brian Norman, who just got the bump and he just became the full WBO champion, but that's a top ranked dude. Is Top Rank going to put their brand new champion, Brian Norman, who had a sensational knockout over Santillan, with Jaron Ennis in an Eddie Hearn card? Probably not. I mean, so I really don't see what the game plan, and I feel like when boxing doesn't get it right, it really stifles multiple people's careers. Meaning, what good fights are available and reasonable for Jaron Ennis at 47? And what are you going to do with Crawford at 54 that's bigger than the Boots? That's why this is such a no-brainer. That's why it's really weird, and it's starting to puzzle me a bit that this fight is like being avoided from the organizers or whoever. It's just such an easy fight to make. You're with the same people. Get it done.